Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to my weekly Ministry Media Masterclass. It's going to be about a minute before we start. So just hang around and start saying hi to us in the comments below and let us know where you are watching from. Love to hear from you, and we're excited to have you today. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, and welcome. Today we have an exciting masterclass and an exciting announcement that we're going to share. If you're watching, let us know where you are watching from, especially if you're watching from a ministry. Let us know, and we'd love to engage with you. We're almost ready to go. As you can see, we'll start promptly at 12 o'clock, and it's going to be exciting today. Hello, Pastor Aye. Very honored to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining. I love you and appreciate you. And we are ready. There we go. Good afternoon and very welcome. If you are here and you are watching from your office or whatever, and you've got a team, please invite them. Also invite your peers. There's lots of ways. You can just go and click on the share button, tag people in the comments. We're really pouring ourselves out here, and we'd love to bless as many people as possible. Thank you so much. Let's start off with our question as we launch. While I'm introducing the class and everything that we're going to do, put in the comments, what is your expectation of the class today? Even if you're watching the replay in anticipation, let us know what is your expectation today. Today we're doing a very special and very good class. It's called Team Building Mastery, as you saw from the promo images. And what we want to help you with is to build a thriving ministry media team. And I'm going to deep dive this, go deep into every single intricacy and moving part of that specific topic. And I've done several trainings on this. And what I've done in prep for this class, just to get you excited, is to say that I've taken probably about 12 separate lessons of various sizes and used AI and compiled them into one massive, amazing lesson. And I know that you're going to be blessed today. We're live from My Growth Academy today, and our vision is Kingdom Standards in Educational Excellence. And we are excited to have you here today. So as you can see, we're broadcasting live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. So if you're in any of those platforms, go and let us know in the comments what your expectations are. We love you, and we're going to dive straight in. I'm going to just get my presentation live, and we're going to go straight into it. Okay, I hope you can see it as you are sharing, so I trust that you can see. We're going to speak about team building mastery today, and the reason why we do this, there's a saying, I don't remember who said it. It's a pastor friend of mine. He said, just because you can do everything doesn't mean you have to do everything. And that is one of my favorite quotes, especially when we're talking about teams and ministries, etc. And it's freeing when you realize that, listen, I don't have to do everything. I really believe, besides the fact that I believe that God has placed a message in you. In fact, there could be lots of messages in you. I believe God has deposited gold into you. And my calling and my job is to help you dig that gold out, present it to the world, build the channels to get it there, and serving the communities that form around that. And believe it or not, we'll speak about your team, your ministry media team, the guys that have the talent to do what you can't do, you don't want to do, or you don't have time to do, those guys are a community, and you're also going to have to support them, love them, etc. And I'm very excited about that. And let's talk about first of all, that message that you have. We have to get it out of you, okay? And for us to do that effectively, it's all good, and please do that. If you communicate and create content and you do it yourself, please do that. But if you're at that stage where you're already doing that, today's class is about leveling up, scaling up, magnifying, getting momentum. In fact, I want you to get critical mass. Okay, I don't want you to just have momentum. I want to inspire you to go for critical mass, where the messaging is just incredible. I'm one person, okay? And I'm not doing this to brag, but I want to share this as a testimony to talk about what is possible. I'm one person, and I'm probably able, with little effort, to share and create and share up to 3 to 5 pieces of content on my platform every day. So it's one, a piece of content could be something like, a piece of content could be something like a short. It could be a meme. There's this masterclass. It could be just a quote, but various types of content that I share every day. And it's not taking me an incredible amount of effort. Luckily, I already know myself and my content, etc., very well. And I just want to make sure that we got everything going here properly. I think my screen is a little mess up. Let's just see. Give me a second. I just want to get this right. I'm going to stop the screen, and I'm going to present. I'm going to present. Okay, got a presenter video. Let's see what it looks like. Give me a second. No, that's going to open up. Okay, I am struggling with my presentation. So while I'm busy with this, I'll just I'm not getting it right. Oh well. Okay, as we go along. So as we go along, when we want to scale up and when we want to really reach the people that we want to reach to, eventually your ministry is going to have to level up and you're going to have to scale up. Okay, it shows that I am sharing something. Technology. Nope. Okay, let's try again. Okay. So yeah, essentially what you want to do is you want to scale up and you want to level up. And that's what today's class is all about. It is about building a team, and I'm going to talk to you and share with you how exactly can you do that, where to get them from, how to make it happen, etc. And it's going to be a blessing to you. So let's start with let's start about the importance of building teams in ministry and media. Number one, what's happening is you're empowering your ministry and the people in your community. You're empowering them with fulfilling their calling. You're giving them a vehicle to develop their gifts and to get where they're supposed to be. Okay. The second thing is about the benefits of building a team. When you build a team, number one, there is camaraderie that's being developed in the team that you're busy developing, but also in the relationship between you and the people that are there. There are support that you are creating, so they are providing you with support. And what's important is you to realize that, listen, this is now a community that I need to serve, that I am serving. And that is a huge responsibility. It's encouraging for them to be part of what you're doing in your vision. And it's also helps you multiply your efforts when you allow people to come on board. Obviously, there's a lot of vulnerability involved here when you are letting people into what is essentially your inner circle, especially the circle where you're communicating to people and showing them who you are. There's a lot of transparency that's developed, etc. And what you're also doing is you're going to leverage the skills of others and you're going to multiply your efforts. Okay, so let's start with 3 keys that unlocks a thriving media team before I get into the specifics of actually building the team, etc. Okay, and the first one, I'm going to overview them and then I'm going to break them down for you. The first one is a development strategy for your team. And I'm going to share 5 things that helps you, 5 development strategies that is part of this team development. The next one is culture. We're going to talk about the culture requirements or the things that you develop as culture in your team that's going to make your team thriving, but also high performing. And then lastly, I'm going to show the third key, which is non-negotiables in a team. Okay, and I want to lay this as a foundation because eventually what's going to happen is that is going to be your frame of reference when you interact with each other, when there is communication, etc. All right, and then I'm going to give you a bonus 5 things, and I'm going to share with you what we call natural abilities. Okay, let's start at the top. We're going to talk about strategy. The first thing that you want to look at in terms of strategy is that there should be unity in your team, okay? And you must do everything to create or actually to protect the unity. I heard a profound statement the other day by a teacher, and she said, you as the body of Christ, you are already in unity. So I guess you just have to develop and strengthen and deepen the unity between you and in the team. And I believe what she said was very true. Unity is already established, right? You only need to maintain and protect that unity in your team. Because when you do that, hallelujah, when you do that, then you're going to have a thriving team. And we are talking here about communicating and being of the same mind. I have so many things that I can share on unity. In fact, I've been writing a book since forever, like a lot of us, on unity. And a couple of things that I can share with you. Unity is about harmony. Everybody's playing a different instrument, or everyone has different talents, but we're all playing the same tune, the same music piece. We're drawing from the same music sheet. It's actually something that's explained in the Bible, is being in harmony. Other thing that I like is this quote by Patrick Lencioni. He says, if you can get everybody in the organization to row in the same direction, you can dominate any industry in any market against any competition at any time. Now, that applies to business. How do we apply that to ministry? It's simple. We've got one objective, right? And that is souls. How do we get there? It's the messages that get there. It's the community that serves, etc. And how are we going to be effective? Is we got to be of the same mind. The Bible talks about being the same mind and the same intention and action. And when you have unity, you're going to have it be really strong. The next thing in terms of team development strategy is understanding stewardship. And there's lots of levels here. First of all, you as a minister have stewardship of what God has given you, of the ministry, of your team, the resources that's given you, etc. And in the same manner, everybody in your team needs to understand that they have stewardship. They have stewardship of their specific skill and talent they bring to the team. They have stewardship of the overall message, the ministry, everything that you're working on. And that is very important to understand. I am a steward. The question is, am I a good steward or am I a bad steward? And the Bible is very clear. There's lots of teaching on stewardship in the Bible. You're steward of your talents, etc. The third part of this development strategy in your team is mentorship. There's, again, lots of levels of mentorship that can happen here or should happen. The first is you have to be a mentor to your team. When they develop, when you recruit them, when you get together, you have to be a mentor to them. You have to understand that there is a deeper relationship that's being formed here. And when that happens, you've got to understand that you now have a responsibility to mentor them. Yes, it's discipleship, but it's a little bit different because here discipleship is about the gospel specifically. Mentorship is where you bring your work ethic in, where you bring your values and your principles in, and you teach that to others, where you start, maybe you're sharing on the apostolic, maybe it's about kingdom, maybe it's about the prophetic, whatever. And there's also elements of mentorship that's going to come in. And you have a responsibility, especially if your team are mostly volunteers. How do I give back to them? I can give them a stipend, but what is the value of that really when the person is not getting to the next level? The next thing about mentorship and another level is what I encourage in my teams to do is there's twofold mentorship happening. The first one is everybody in my team is a mentor to someone else. How does that work? So some of your team members might be in a different level spiritually, might be in a different level of skill, might be a different level of application or a higher level. And so what we know from leadership is we have to pull people up to the level that we are. Okay? And so there's the responsibility to mentor someone else in the team. Then there's a responsibility to say, I am open and submitting myself to mentorship by someone else. Not just you. There is a mentorship relationship that's happening from you. But there's also got to be a mentorship relationship between peers. So I am mentoring this person, but I'm also being mentored by someone else. And it could be that your editor is mentoring the videographer because they work closely together and they work on a lot of the same things. And the editor is mentoring the videographer, for instance, on excellence. Okay? And then because the editor is working with overlays and lower thirds and color grading and all that kind of stuff, he or she could possibly say, I want to be mentored by the graphic artist, right? Why? Because they can teach me a lot about colors, look and feel, etc., etc. So that is what I encourage in your team to happen. The next thing is leadership. Leadership development should be something that is being engaged. I want to put aside discipleship where we are talking to people about growing spiritually, Bible studies, all that kind of stuff. That is stuff that I am accepting that's already happening. The next, I want to encourage development of leadership skills and potential. If a person is in your team or signs up or a part of your team in any way, they could be a writer, and I'm going to explain the different skills that I suggest should be part this bigger picture of yours. But they could be a writer, they could be a graphic designer, whatever. What they're doing is they're serving. And for them to be in your team, they are naturally in a leadership position. In fact, we understand that everybody is in some kind of position of influence. A father, a second child has influence over the younger child. There's so many different levels of influence, and leadership is influence. John Maxwell says nothing more, nothing less. And so you have to have some component in your team where you're developing people in terms of leadership. Now, what you can do is you can be part of our Level Up Leadership Mastermind, where we are constantly developing people to the next level. You could just send John Maxwell as a podcast. And I'm using that as a frame of reference because that's what I use. John Maxwell as a podcast on Spotify. So you can just track when they have new podcasts, and you could send your team the link to that podcast so they can listen to it in their own time. Young people and creatives especially love watching tutorial videos and also listening to podcasts. So use that as a tool to get people to the next level. Obviously, if you have any form of leadership development programs in your church, especially what you develop, get your team into some kind of engagement. It should be at least half an hour, 45 minutes every week that you sit them down and pour into them and develop them. And then last part of the strategy is relationship. Relationship is incredibly important. The relationships that's developed between you, the relationships that develop with other departments, your media team, when they're established, or if they're established, it's not going to serve you only. They are also going to help the men's ministry, the youth ministry, etc. That's a natural thing. And so building relationships and honor between people is very, very important. We're going to go into the next section, which is culture. And I just want to check how you are doing and how things are doing in the comments. Yes, Pastor Aye says, unity about harmony, musicians playing from the same sheet. And Jonathan Banda, Pastor Jonathan Banda is also in. Welcome. He says he's got 12 pastors watching from Zambia today. Thank you so much. And I pray in Jesus' name that connection that you are using will be optimized and streamlined, and that you will have the best possible connection so that you can join us and you don't miss anything. Thank you very, 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 very much. Share your comments in share your thoughts in the comments below. We really appreciate that. And I can see that everybody is already doing that. Thank you so much. I'm going to get back to getting this slide up. And that's what we're talking about. So the second key is culture development, developing a culture in your team and different kinds of cultures. Obviously, you should have a culture of excellence. I'm not going to talk about that, but I'll talk about the 5 things that I believe makes for a good, thriving team. The first one is a culture of education. So what I do is I encourage my teams to not just be mentorship development or mentorship relationships or leadership development programs of some kind, but I encourage them to upskill themselves every week. In fact, it's great if they do it every day. So it doesn't matter if they're paid staff or volunteer staff, encourage them to upskill themselves regularly. And I encourage my team to spend half an hour to an hour every day watching some kind of training, tutorials, doing training, going through courses, etc. So they can stay current, they can upskill themselves, and they can keep on leveling up their experiences. And I want to encourage you to lead them. John Maxwell says, people do what people see. And so if they see you doing it and feeding back to them what you've learned this week, perhaps, they will follow you and they will do exactly the same thing. The next one in the culture is engagement. So you want to encourage, and you want to lead this, you want to encourage deep, regular engagement by everybody, that are regularly engaged with each other. And You should have a weekly meeting. You could have a daily meeting, but you should encourage them to have meetings together. So anybody has to do with graphics, for instance, that will be your designer, that will be your social media manager, etc., etc. It could be your photographer. They are part of a creative hub, if you will, that work together. They should meet at least once a week and talk about what are their challenges, what are they celebrating, what's the next steps in their team, etc. Everybody that has to do with video. This is your editor. This is your lighting guy, if you have one. This is your videographer. Everybody that has to do with videos, they should be getting together regularly and they should be talking to each other at least once a week and discuss again 3 levels of engagement. What is our challenges? What are we celebrating? And what is our next steps? That's a great format. Next, edification. I believe edification is one of my strong suits. It's one of my gifts. It's not really one of the motivational gifts that's taught in the Bible, but I think, I think it has a lot of value. And how does this work? It works like this. Encourage and edify your team regularly. It is taught that it is better to find people doing something good and well than to look for the mistakes that are making. And then another thing is when you engage with your team, praise in public, reprimand in private. It's something I learned a couple of years ago, probably 8 years ago, and it's a very valuable value or exercise that I've learned to do. And so you want to edify your team regularly, build them up. The Bible talks about edification, or building up of a building. If you want your team to be encouraged, strong, positive, edify them regularly. Praise them for the things that are doing well. If they've delivered a video that is really amazing, light it up. Build them up in the church. Say, the media team did this piece, show them the piece, showcase it, and say, what an awesome team, give them a hand, etc., etc. That public recognition is really encouraging to edify and build your team up. The thing that ties up to them is my fourth culture value that I like to bring in my teams is celebration. So let's say you work hard and you launch or relaunch your media ministry. Celebrate that. In fact, make it a big celebration. Promote it to the church or to your community. Tell them you're launching. Do a stream like this, for instance. Get your team into the stream as guests into the studio. Let them tell their story or their perception or their approach to what you've been doing, and show everybody the first video of the new media platform that you've done, and showcase it and show it to them. You might have a goal, like we want to build a studio. But as you're trusting God for the finances of building the studio, obviously we know from the scriptures that we should be faithful in a little so we can master much. And so your first step could be just getting a mic like this. I'm using this today, and this mic, great sound quality, cost me like 200 rand. And that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to just take that first step and get your first mic, get a camera, get a lens cap if you have to, but start somewhere. And every time that you have a small milestone that you've realized, maybe you have a green screen background that you're trusting God for. You got it, set it up, celebrate every milestone that builds up to your larger goal. And then lastly, in culture, is effective communication. You want to communicate regularly and often. It's a quote I love that says, the problem with communication is the illusion that it's actually happening. I don't believe there's anything like over communication. If you look at your communication with your church, you could be sending notice of an event in your newsletter, on email. You could post it on social media, announce it at church, and the probability that there's someone that has missed all of that is very high. So you can never really over communicate, and especially when it comes to your team. Anything that you're developing, communicate regularly and build them up. Then the next one, I'm going to talk about the third key before I talk about the bonus portion, and that is 5 things that are just non-negotiables in my team. And I want to encourage you to adopt them and teach them to your team. In fact, I want you to encourage you and teach all of this to your team. And great news is I'm busy writing a book on these. It's actually called The 15 Keys to Unlocking a Thriving Team or a Thriving Community. And these are all the points that I discuss in there. And so here's are 5 things that are non-negotiable. It's my personal values, non-negotiables for me. The first one is no excuses. So I teach that when we approach a challenge or a problem, what we want to do is we want to be solutions focused. I know there are 1,000 ways of not doing something, 1,000 reasons why something shouldn't work, but there's one reason or one key or one solution to every problem. And I encourage my teams to find that one solution. Don't make excuses, follow. And it talks about their work, right? As they're working, instead of finding excuses for, okay, my PC is too slow, I don't have the right software, whatever the case be, all problems in tech and in media has some kind of solution. And there is a lot of free tools that you can use. And so I teach my teams not to have any excuses. Then there is no negatives. So we try and encourage not having any negative words or speech that is being used at any time. So things like I can't, obviously I won't, I cannot, I'm struggling, sorry, etc., etc. We try and use positive language at all times and language that is driven towards solutions. I'm spending a lot of time on this, and class is probably going to be a little over an hour, if not 90 minutes today, because there's so much to share. The third one is no bad mouthing. Okay. And so I encourage this because if a team realizes that someone else in the team is bad mouthing them to the pastor, to the members, to fellow team members, it's discouraging. And if you allow that, it's going to damage your team. God abhors gossiping. In fact, he teaches and says that it's a work of the flesh. We can't be spiritual and gossip at the same time. And some people are hiding gossiping in the veil of prayer requests or sharing concerns, etc. And there is room for sharing concerns, etc. But I don't have to share my concerns with everybody. I can share my concern with one person that is equipped to deal with a certain situation. And so we teach that, listen, gossiping is just not something to do. In fact, in my team, when I'm empowered and I'm given the authority to do it, if you gossip, you will lose your spot in my team. And lastly, no complaining. We encourage people not to complain. This ties into with the negativity and the excuses. But do you know some people that complain? They come into a room and they're just negative and they complain about everything. Let's take it to this context. They come in and say, the camera is not working. My computer is slow. The software I'm using can't do this and that and that. And so what that person does is just suck the energy out of the room. And so when we encourage, you can see that a lot of these things tie into each other. And I think that is the framework for a great team. I want to share with you just 5 bonus things that's really, really awesome. I call them natural abilities, right? And the first one is responsibility. It ties in with the stewardship that we taught at the beginning, okay? Everybody has a responsibility for certain tasks, certain workflows, things that they are looking after. They're steward of certain things, but they also have a responsibility. If you break up the word, you'll see that responsibility means I have the ability to respond to certain things. And responsibility means that There's certain things that's given to me and entrusted to me, and I have a responsibility for it. The person who opens up the church has the responsibility to do that on time, because there's like the sextant or the groundskeeper or whatever. Because if they don't do that very important function, the worship team will arrive and they can't get in and they can't set up. The pastor can't get in and set up. The people can't come and make sure that the venue is ready. Do you see how important that job is? That person has stewardship. They also have a huge responsibility that impacts a lot of people. And that is a simple example, but it's really powerful. The next is accountability. I am accountable. For instance, I am an editor, and my job is to make sure that Thursday, when the social media manager wants to get their content and scheduled for Friday, that my content has been edited and delivered so they can upload it. I'm accountable to that. And there is this thing about keeping people accountable to what they agreed for. It's very important that you communicate the expectations that you have to your team, and them echoing to you what has been communicated, and for them to agree to that commitment, and then hold people accountable to that. The third natural ability is availability. So I can be available to serve, or I'm not available to serve. We have a beautiful culture in our church where we have a dream team, but we don't force people to serve at certain time. We might ask, listen, there is a high demand on dream team members this weekend because we've got an event, etc., or there's a miracle crusade or whatever. And so we want to encourage, ask that more people are available. But it's always on people's availability. We never force people. So when you're working with a team that's volunteers, you want to make sure that they communicate when they're available to help. That's why it's good to have, you have the person that runs the media desk, you have the person that oversees it, and then the person that runs the presentation, other persons on the sound, etc. It's always good to have 2 or 3 people. Because what happens if you only have one person who knows the soundboard and works on the soundboard, and one weekend they're sick or they go on a caravan trip or whatever, then you're stuck. So it's good to always have 2 or 3 people in a specific skill, and then maybe having a team member that drives and leads that team. It's very good. Adaptability. It's very important that team members are adaptable, because technology changes regularly, and you might choose to do take a different approach. You might want to change your message, change your approach, change the format of the media that you're putting out. And then lastly, approachability. It's important that your door is always open for your team to come and talk to you about absolutely anything. When you have that open door policy, and also make sure that they are also open to communication and engagement from you. We're getting into section 2. We have quite a bit to share and to go through. And I just want to check how things are going. Pastor Jonathan Banda says, we have 10 people watching here in Zambia right now. Wow, that is absolutely amazing. Remember that feedback is the breakfast of champions. And so please share your comments and your thoughts below. Before I get into section 2, and let me just check here. There's quite a few sections. There's like 12 sections here, and I'm going to try and just go through all of them. We've spent quite a bit on this specific portion. Thank you so much for everybody that's engaging. Let's just get this presentation back up, right? And let's dive into the next portion. I'm going to do 2 or 3 sections, and then I'm going to share a very exciting thing with you. Did you share this broadcast yet? Did you tag someone in the comments? Let's get more people involved and engaged. Do you have team members? Get them involved. Let them watch. Let's talk about kind of the first step to building your team. I've given you a foundation and a framework in terms of culture, strategy, etc. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty. I want to encourage you to trust God for a team. As I said in the beginning, just because you can do everything does not mean you have to. And so this is my encouragement to you. Trust God for a team. I have several different organizations, businesses that I'm a part of, and I know I cannot be successful without a team. And those development strategies that I shared with you before is because I know if my team is successful, then I'm successful. And so trust God for a team. Because if you have people joining your organization, volunteer or paid, slowly but surely you'll start seeing your message and your platform getting maximized, reaching a lot more potential. And that is what we're looking for. And so I want to talk about identifying the required skills that's necessary in your team. So before you actually go and recruit your team, first identify what you're looking for. And so there's a couple core skills that's necessary for a ministry media team to be optimized and to be really effective, to get what you need and in your team, and to have your platform reach its fullest potential. So here they are. Let's reverse engineer this. You're probably managing your own platform right now. I'm going to be transparent and honest. I'm managing my own platform right now. And the ideal is eventually to have a team to help me. And so what you want to identify first is someone that is going to manage your platform. This is a person who speaks social media. They are vibrant, they're exciting, and maybe they can write a little bit. They're going to be with it. They're going to be up to date with the latest skills, etc. And listen, if they're not, or if your team requires the skills, always remember that we've got a program called Ministry Media Mastery. They can go into and they can learn everything that they need to learn. We are geared for that. We're training people on a daily basis. So you need a platform manager. This is just your social media management person. They're posting all your content, etc. Okay, how do we get the content? Let's break down the posting a little bit. So for the social media manager to have all the content, she's going to need creative. She's going to need, this person is going to need video in various formats, long form, medium form, or short form, and then shorts. And those are videos of an hour, videos of 10, 15 minutes, maybe between 8 and 10 minutes, and then shorts, which is a minute. Okay, so you're going to need those. You're going to need graphics. These are quote cards, these are scripture cards, the photos, whatever. So you need to give this person the content to create. My mentor says, and he teaches a way to do it, and we can also empower you with that. Creating at least 5 pieces of content every day. It should be 50. Okay, and why? Because it's just how the platforms work. My mentor did an interview with someone the other day. They have a health movement, and they're very passionate about that, and they've got a platform. And they said, what should we do? He asked them this question: how many pieces of content are you putting out at the moment? And they said, well, we're scaling up and we're developing our team and da-da-da-da. And they gave all those excuses I told about, right? And he said, no, how many pieces of content are you putting out? And again, they came back and gave excuses to what they know the answer is. And he said, for the third time, my question very directly, how many pieces of content are you putting out? And they said, once a week. And he laughed, he walked away, and he jokingly called security, and he said, please come and take these people away. It was a conference about media and content creation, etc. And he says, how are you expecting to reach people if you have 1 piece of content going out every week? It should be at least 5 per day. That's what I'm trying to keep myself accountable to. Why? Because I'm eating my own dog food. I am doing what I teach you. Remember a week or 2 ago, we were talking about content accountability and having a checklist. That's exactly what this is all about. So platform manager, who feeds them the content? The creators. The creators, there's a step in between. You could possibly find a person that writes. So this is a copywriter, a person that's just going to write your copy that the platform manager are going to post. A platform manager can be equipped with copywriting skills. There's lots of free platforms they can get training on, and they could be equipped to that. So what happens is, ideally, an awesome team has platform manager and a copywriter. Those two could be one person. Okay. And you'll see everything that I'm explaining, there's a lot of people that could be have multiple skills. Then let's talk about your video formats. Your shorts and your content is going to come from long form. I teach that we take pastors into the studio for a whole day, and depending on their time, it could be 5 hours, 8 hours, it could be 12 hours. We spend a day in the studio. Why? Because it takes effort, it takes booking a lot of different people that's involved, it takes time, and so let's maximize the time of everybody. And so in an 8-hour day, I can get at least between 24 and 32 videos out of at least 5 minutes. Okay. And the content creation, how you get there, this is not what this class is about. I think we shared it in the first class. And so your videographer is the key person who's going to do and capture that long form. Because remember the process I taught a couple of weeks ago is, if you have long form, what you can get out of that is shorter videos, shorts. You can get podcasts out of that because it's audio just by conversion. Transcribing the audio, you have blog posts, text. You can eventually have a book. So there's lots. If you put a lot of work into this production day that I teach, you're going to have a lot of results from that. Okay, and that's what we want to do. You want to maximize your time. And so you're going to have your videographer. Then you should have a photographer. Why? A photographer is going to capture all the moments of your outreaches, of your events, obviously at church, the worship moments, the band, the lights, etc. And it's good to have a photographer to capture all those moments. Now, your videographer and your photographer could be one person, but let's be honest, when your videographer is capturing and live streaming the church services, can't be taking photographs. So it's always good to make maybe a volunteer position, a dream team position open for a dream teamer or volunteer that wants to practice and craft. And when we talk about mentorship and leadership development earlier, what I like doing is I like connecting them to free or paid resources, but equipping them. So they're serving, they get to be a practitioner, you empowering them through training, taking them, sending them to courses, sending them resources. But if you invest in them, they are going to obviously grow. And that is why people serve a lot of times, is so they get exposure to situations, skills, etc. And that's what you wanted to do. So you're going to need a videographer, photographer. Those could be one person. You're going to need an editor. The high intensity media platforms that we develop and work with have an editor, a person that just edits. And so that's important. So your videographer just creates raw footage, the editor edits. And especially an editor is really helpful when it comes to telling stories, especially stories from the mission field, testimonials, all those kind of things. You need an editor. This could also be one person. The videographer and the photographer, the videographer and editor could be one person. But as your ministry, your media ministry grows and intensifies, I want to warn you, this person is going to get overworked, overtaxed, and is going to experience burnout. It is going to happen, especially if you have a lot of content going out in the week and there's a lot of demands on that. So it's good to rather have a videographer that's maybe full-time and having an editor that is either on part-time or that is a volunteer. It's always good to have that. You could have an audio engineer, right? That is very, very, very up class and upskilled. Doesn't have to be that. Your editor will usually have the tools to work with the audio in the editing. Fix audio if it has to be fixed. But what we teach is that it's important that when you do videography, that your videography is of the highest level already. Okay. Next, what you want is a writer. Okay. So we spoke a little bit about a copywriter before, who writes the copy for the social media posts, etc. You can empower your platform manager to do that. But if you have a writer, and this writer, if you are blessed, you have a writer that's multi-skilled. So they can write books and manuscripts. They can write course material. They can write blog posts, etc. And if you give them the tools, like for instance, hey, here is a couple of videos that I did. Let's transcribe them. You clean it up. You pull out what's important, and you can write a couple of social media post updates. You can compile a course from that. You need a writer. Also, great volunteer position. Writers are expensive. In fact, all of these skills are expensive people. Then, obviously, a graphic design artist. What are they going to do? They're going to create your thumbnails. They're going to create your promo videos, your quote cards, your scripture cards. They're going to work with your logos. They're going to work hand in hand with your web designer, which I encourage should be an outsourced thing. But your graphic design often could also be a web designer at the same time. They could have the similar skills because it's the similar functions, because they have a similar skill set. And obviously you can go specialized in a lot of different things, but those are the core things that I think you can trust God for, to make sure that you empower them. I just want to pause from this presentation here. We're going to go to the next point in a second. I just want to say, how's it to Lamiz Bailey? Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I honor you, and yeah, this is a deep one. Let's go to the next one. We're talking about skills. When you're developing your team, I always teach that you should have a large vision. Okay. You should work with, what is my eventual outcome? Where do I want to be eventually? And then working with that vision, and then reverse engineering it, breaking it down into smaller goals, and then every goal into milestones, etc. Let's go to the third section, and that is assessing and allocating a budget. Now, let's talk about finances. I don't like this part. I'm going to be honest with you. It's difficult for me, but I've realized that it's important to budget. The Bible actually teaches that, listen, we need to count the cost before we attempt the project, because there's a risk that if we don't budget appropriately, that we might not finish the project. And that's wisdom right there. Jesus actually taught us in a parable. So what you want to do is, you want to, before attempting to form the team or developing your team or growing your team, you want to ask this question: do I have a budget for media development? And budget is going to have to be, we'll do budget at another time, and I'll probably get someone else to come and teach this, because it's not my strong point. But budget is important. You're going to need budget for the following. You're going to need budget for equipment. Okay, just getting your equipment, developing that. Going back to what I taught before, you can use just your cell phone with a mic from Take-A-Lot and sunshine and create content. There's no excuses. The barriers are low. There's no excuses not to do it. So don't not do it. But as you are faithful with a little, as Scripture teaches us, you can trust God to increase your resources. Okay. So you're going to need a budget for equipment. You're going to need a budget for salaries, team development, and then obviously you're going to have need budget for production days and executing. All right, and just give me a second. I just want to change over my cable here. So I'm running out of power. Where is it? All right, so What is in terms of the team, what does that budget look like? Now, there's a couple of things that you can do. All right. You need to look at what is my budget for, how am I going to get my budget together? You need to decide, am I going to hire one person, one full-time person that's multi-talented and they manage everything? The risk with that is this person is going to burn out and going to be overextended. Okay. The next thing is you can hire multiple talents for full-time positions. So at least have a videographer, editor, maybe sound person. Okay. At least have a graphic design artist that could write and post your stuff. Those are two of the key things that I think is necessary to make this work. So you can have them full-time. You can have multiple part-time staff members. So let's say your media team comes in Monday to Wednesday, or Wednesday to Friday, or just Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday. But usually it's best to have your media team come in, if they're part-time, Wednesday to Friday or Thursday and Friday. Why? Because they have to create a lot of stuff that's going to be needed for the weekend, correct? And so multiple part-time staff is great if you have a smaller budget. Okay. Then you could split the budget between full-time salaries. You could split the budget for full-time salaries into more part-time positions, as I explained before. You could also split your budget between paid staff salaries and making financial resources available for the volunteer team. So you could say, I have X amount, I'm going to break it up and I'm going to take 60%, put it into full-time staff, and take the other 40 and give my dream team or the volunteers resources that they can work with. So there's a lot of things that you could do in in the creativity of that. Where do I get the money from, Ivan? I don't have the money. Well, we all know how this works. Number one, you can just trust God. I want to do a separate thing for funding, maybe at another time. But there's a couple core scriptures that we stand on. One of them is God will supply all your needs according to His, according to His glory. Another one is you don't have because you don't ask. Another one is ask and you will receive. Another one is, look, if you say to the mountain, be removed and thrown into the sea, it will be done for you. So you declare the things that you want to bring into. This is a lot of stuff and it causes contention. So I don't want to talk too much about it, but maybe we could have a focused class on that. So that's one of the things that you can do. Go to your church, the ministry, go to your followers, your community, and say a couple of things. We're going to talk about that in a moment, but just talk about finances. You can say, we have a media project. It's going to be 6 months. We're going to launch. We're going to do this, etc. We have the budget. We know exactly where everything's going to come from. We have a plan, etc. We are accountable. We have a CFO. Maybe you have a person that is overseeing that. There's multiple people for accountability. I'm not involved with any of the finances. All I'm doing is I'm casting the vision. Other people are dealing with the money, which is a good idea for especially the key man or the main leader in a church or a community. And then just casting the vision. And then people give towards that. I have teachings where we talk about how can I make YouTube work for me in terms of getting funds in. I have a lesson or a module just on doing proposals for media projects. So maybe we'll do that one time. So there's lots of ways on how can I find the money. But at the end of the day, it's simple. Trust God that He will send the resources and the people that will cause onto the vision. Let's go into section 4. We are on the hour right now. So if you've only allocated this amount of time, I understand and thank you for being here. But if you can, stay. I want to finish this today because this is really a powerful masterclass, and I don't want to break it up. I want to keep it going. But I want to pause, and I just want to say this. What we're going to do in Lamie says, I'm planning to watch the replay. Excellent teaching. Thank you so much. I'm so honored. I just want to pause here and say one thing. What I'm going to do is the people that are part of the master classes every week and engaging in the comments, and two key things specifically: engaging at the beginning, sharing what the expectations are, and at the end, what did they learn and what are they taking away. We're going to look for consistent engagement and attendance for about a month, and at the end of the month, we're going to invite those people that are attending and that are engaging into what we call a ministry media deep dive. So we're going to have a Zoom room. We're going to have everybody that's been engaging. We're going to reward them for it by having a deep dive session at the end of the month, Zoom room, and we're going to engage. People will ask questions. We're going to share strategy, vision, provide solutions, etc., etc. I'm very excited to actually be doing that. And so, I will encourage you to stick around if you can. Otherwise, obviously, you can catch the replay to see the second part of it. I don't know how long it's going to continue, but I'm going to just continue and finish this class for you. Thank you so much for your patience, and thank you for being here. And hello to everybody. Let's go to the next one. Engaging your community or your congregation. Okay, here I want to talk about, it's important that you share your vision with your community. Now, you might have a church, so your community is a congregation, and you could share your vision with them, whatever that is. How are you going to utilize media to get the church to grow, more visibility, etc.? You could have a missions organization, right? And so as a missions organization, you want to create an online platform, right? And you want to regularly open up the opportunities for people to serve. I have a pastor in my program who's from America, and he's been hosting a weekly prayer engagement or live stream once a week. And he got people from South Africa that has joined his team and that's actually helping him with the broadcast and creating the media and promoting it, etc. He has regular guests that stream in and they do the worship from a remote place. So the technology has really made it really powerful. And so that's how a prayer ministry or a missions organization can share that. Maybe you have a nonprofit, maybe you have a orphanage or whatever. Again, building a media platform to communicate and share. I want to encourage you to build an internal team that's going to build, that's going to serve this organization, and try and create volunteer and serving opportunities as much as possible. So how do I do that? Go onto my platform, go to my community, and communicate in whichever way is possible where you can reach people. Use multiple channels. Use your WhatsApp groups, use your Facebook group, use your Facebook page, use your Facebook profile, use your YouTube channel, etc., etc. You could create different media communicating your vision and making the opportunity for people to serve via those channels. And I want to encourage you to don't do a video sharing your vision and making a call for people to serve and saying, we are opening opportunities to serve. I'm not going to talk on the other side how blessed it is for a person to serve, the benefits for them, etc., because that's also something we can do in a separate class. They are going to be blessed, but you have to make opportunities available. So when you do it, don't do a video, post it on YouTube, and you share the YouTube video in WhatsApp and post it on Facebook, etc. Respectfully, it's a lazy way of doing it. If you want to really get the best results, go and create a cell phone selfie video with you speaking to a community and post it to WhatsApp. That's how this platform communicates. Do a live broadcast from your page and your Facebook groups and your Facebook profile. Do a separate video for YouTube. Keep on doing separate things and speak to the community in the language that they know on the platform that they are. Very, very important. There's a tool called Planning Center. We have that as a free resource and a bonus in our program, where you can use their functionality called groups, where you can run your community. But they also have a scheduling app where you can schedule your teams. So create different serving blocks for your teams. And when you communicate that, listen, this is our vision, what we want to do with our media department or our media platform. We have opportunities to serve, and you can come and serve at any time when you're available, as I taught you before. Now, what you want to do is you want to create different serving blocks. Obviously, Sunday, there's a lot of opportunity there, but also have serving blocks in the week and manage those schedules on Planning Center scheduling with the scheduling app. So what happens is you schedule people on Planning Center. It uses Planning Center people as a database. And you schedule them for the blocks that they make themselves available to. What we do is you use WhatsApp polls to get people's availability. And then what you do is once they're scheduled, they accept. And then obviously we have a check-ins app that we use. And so when they come and serve, they check in for serving, and you know they are there. And you can manage everything that way. And obviously, then again, there's recognition, edification, and celebration that you can do for those people that serve really well, etc. So create those serving blocks. I encourage you to set up how is this going to work effectively before you communicate the opportunity for people to join as volunteers. Because when they are volunteers, they want to know what's the next step, and you need to have that in place first. Don't do a call for volunteers, have people sign up, and you don't know what to do with them at that point. It's going to make you look disorganized, you lose credibility, and it's not going to work. And you're possibly going to lose those people because there's going to be, even if there's 2-3 weeks before something is activated, you want to get people connected and activated immediately. The next thing regarding this that I want to say is obviously you should have some form of onboarding and training for people that's going to join your team, where you want to, simple things like what is our statement of faith, how does our church operate, what are the opportunities, diving your gifts, maybe a little leadership session, etc., so that they are what we call team ready. They are ready to serve. Like they've gone through a process and you've vetted them. You must have interviews with them, etc. Okay. And then another thing that you can do is you can rotate roles and responsibilities among members. So remember I shared that the videographer can also do video. Why don't you get the videographer and the photographer, if the photographer has videography skills, to swap at some times? So maybe there's a minor videography project. Get your photographer to go and sharpen their skills. And that's where the mentorship comes in. Maybe your graphic designer can work with the editor a little bit. Maybe they can swap, right? There's so many opportunities just for people to get exposed to different areas, different workflows, etc., etc. Section 5. Empower your team members through community engagement. Okay. So your community, if you empower your community, your members, right, with the opportunity to serve, skilling them up, etc., what happens is you give them the opportunity to establish your church brand. Remember, their culture is going to become your church brand eventually, because people do what people see. People gravitate towards what they get, and they're encouraged, etc. You want to encourage the members to get involved in the media vision that you have. Give them opportunities to serve, as we said before. How about making members brand ambassadors? In other words, they are ambassadors of your church. What we've done before, that was really powerful, is we actually teach the church members to promote the church. So simple things like they're on their way to church, they do a selfie photo or maybe a video and say, hey, I'm excited, I'm going to church today, this is what is expected, this is the person that's speaking, and they do that like an hour or 45 minutes before. So those that see the live video or see the video still have time to get dressed and go to church, etc. When they arrive there, right, they're taking photos of, hey, church, everybody's ready, let's go, kind of thing. They could take videos, they could take live videos while the worship is playing and play that. I've done that a couple of times very successfully. We just play like even 10, 15 seconds of the worship, right, and stream it live. Great way to promote your church. So your media team should not just be the key talent and people in your main media team. You should empower your members to also tell stories, create content, etc. Then selfies. Afterwards, maybe you guys have cake. Maybe there's a cafeteria. Your photographer should be taking photos of the community engagement happening, but also let your members create content because it gives you a wider net, wider visibility. And that's really a powerful strategy to use. You could take specific members and spotlight them. It could be someone's birthday. So just taking a photo of them, putting it on social media, maybe doing interviews afterwards of new people joining, having come for the first time. What was there? And you ask questions, open-ended questions, but positive response questions, like, for instance, what impressed you the most today, and so on. And so it's important that you empower everybody through regular training and education. I see some comments, so I'm just going to finish this portion and then get back to that. As I said before, when I was talking about the strategy, develop leadership. The more you pour into your main team and the members, obviously the better results you're going to have in your ministry, especially your media ministry. There's this story I heard. I think it's the CFO of Virgin Airlines speaking to Richard Branson, and he said, what happens if we train our people and they leave? And he said to them, what if we don't train our people and they stay? And that is really, really searing, and it really opens your mind and challenges you in terms of getting a vision to prepare. Amir says, I'm sticking around. Thank you. And she's giving me some feedback. She said, I've studied YouTube ranking. It's recommended that we share the link of a YouTube video to platforms in WhatsApp. Lamia's, everyone has their own opinion and their own way of doing things. I'm a practitioner, and obviously these guys are also. But with video ranking, if I post a video, a YouTube video, let me take this off the screen for a second. If I take a YouTube video and I share the link in WhatsApp, you can do that. It might increase your views a little bit, but you're not going to have the engagement from the WhatsApp community as much as if you shared that video straight into WhatsApp and uploaded it natively. I believe that. People can differ from me, and that's okay. WhatsApp doesn't operate on a ranking system, so sharing from internal platform doesn't affect your ranking. I completely agree. So if you go into YouTube analytics, you'll see, listen, the source for the traffic, this amount of traffic was WhatsApp, or the source of this was Facebook or whatever. And that's true. I approach every platform as natively. This is what I've learned early in my career, is that people in Facebook trust Facebook and the platform. It is a fact. If you go and research third-party links and external links, if you post a link in Facebook, the probability that it's going to be clicked, it takes outside, is much less. Have you seen people now posting links in the comments instead of in the post? That's why. Facebook wants to keep you inside of Facebook. So when you post an external link, it's not going to get as much visibility as you would like. So I want you to just swap this around. Okay. The more watch time you have and engagement you have, and the more views and increased watch time on YouTube, that's going to help. So if you post it on the other platforms, it's going to help. But I want you to switch it around. The Facebook user or the WhatsApp user, the probability of clicking a link that's going to take them outside, a couple of things happen. Number one, the probability of that link being clicked is 30%. Okay. The other thing is, if I have a Facebook profile and a link, what I do with this class, for instance, I stream to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Why? Why don't I just share the YouTube link to all the platforms? Because I know LinkedIn is going to honor and promote my broadcast on LinkedIn because I'm broadcasting natively on LinkedIn. It's going to do that. Why? Because if I post a link that's going to take them, the viewer, away from the platform, they're not going to promote that link. And that's why I do it. And then she says, bringing people from an external platform to YouTube, Instagram, Facebook works very similar to backlinking used in SEO. It works on WordPress. Backlinking, Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp, I don't think works that well. But definitely, you want to use authority sites, like for instance YouTube and so on, to link to your website. That is going to help with your SEO. But ranking inside of YouTube, for instance, again, they honor internal activity and sharing and engagement. And that's what I believe. But like I said, that is just my opinion. I think at the end of the day, what's going to work well is just testing different theories and seeing what works best for you, because every platform is different. But one thing that I truly believe is that people trust the Facebook environment. That's why they're going to much easier engagement with content that's posted natively to Facebook. For instance, a video, a short in YouTube, a reel in YouTube, in Facebook does better than a reel shared onto Facebook. That's just how it is. Okay. Section 6, building and developing a media team. Let's talk about the importance of delegation and task distribution. I started this class by saying just because you can do everything doesn't mean you have to. And so I've learned I can do everything. And honestly, currently, I do a lot of my own stuff. But it's wise to have people that have specific skills and are experts in what they do to contribute to the platform through serving, collaboration, perhaps, etc., to come and give your to come and contribute to your platform. So certain things you can delegate to other people. Like if you're not very good at editing, and there's someone that's better and they're willing to serve, give it to them. If you are not great at grammar, don't write, right? Ask someone else to help you. And there are people that have the heart and the calling to serve other people. I really believe this. Part of the content that I'm sharing with you today comes from a podcast that I did in an interview with a men's ministry. And we spent 40 minutes. We had identified every key skill that we need for the platform to do well. And through networking and speaking to 3 to 5, I think there was 3 to 5 leaders in the conversation from that ministry, we were able to put a name to every one of those skills that was going to volunteer to that position. I believe God has already provided your team for you, and they don't necessarily have to be paid staff. When do you start paying staff? It's when people are really very engaged, they do a lot for you, and you want to honor them. You pay them part-time at least, or a stipend, and eventually you want to hire them full-time, especially if they're valuable to you and they're putting a lot of time into it. Okay. You need to activate your media department. What I love and what I saw works really well is sharing the vision for a project, maybe a video, whatever, and saying, go be creative, and give people the freedom to be creative. Because when you have freedom, the results are a lot better. Okay. And we were speaking at the beginning, those 5 things, those 3 keys, the value of faithfulness, right? There's a great value in faithfulness. So as you're faithful to your calling, to your message, they're going to be faithful to their own calling, their skills, but also to you. And to teach faithfulness is a great strategy. Let's talk about building a diverse team. As I said before, when I was starting to speak about getting different people in your team, it's better to have 5 people in your team that do different things than to have 1 or 2 people that multitask and does 1,000 things. There's a quote that I love that says, it's better to do one thing 1,000 times than doing 1,000 things, or it's better to do 6 things 1,000 times than to do 1,000 things 6 times. And that speaks to, like me, I can do everything. Should I? No. Okay. And so again, build a diverse team, make opportunities available for people to serve, have multiple people. Maybe you could have 1 person that's paid in your team, and they are like a project manager, and they work with the volunteers, and they give them different parts of different jobs. So they have the big picture, the vision, they know the projects they're working on, and they're giving the small parts to different teams. But again, just remember effective communication, having regular meetings and communicating regularly and effectively, just so everybody is on the same page. Okay. We were talking about developing your team members' leadership skills, but also invest in them and help them develop their management skills, project management skills, media skills. And we were speaking about regular development and upskilling of your team before. And it's very important that you make sure that your team is stimulated, that they get freedom, that they are regularly upskilled, they get challenged. Okay. And we were talking about mentoring before. Just quickly going back to talking about paid staff and volunteers. It's good to have a mixture between paid staff, volunteers, or full-time staff, but I explained that already. But when you have, let's say you have, what we do is we have, for instance, a team. So we could have a team, media team, production team, and then you have the visual team. They do graphics, etc., etc. You have the video team. They do the video, the editing, the lighting, all that kind of stuff. They're a team. And so it's wise for you, because people are going to come in and out of your team regularly. There's seasons in people's lives. Sometimes people are disappointed in you. They lose faith. They lose the vision, and they leave. And so for continuity, it's always good for you to keep in mind that you have maybe a leader of a team and people that serve and volunteer, and they form part of that team, that cosmos, and they're part of the bigger vision, and you regularly celebrate, etc. So new talent is cultivated on a regular basis. You got to keep on cultivating new people so that you can keep growing and keep everything going. There's nothing worse than having a thriving, awesome media platform and your videographer quits, and it takes you 2 to 3 months to find someone new. If you have a team that are passionate about what they do and they serve as volunteers to, for instance, the video team, the graphics team, whatever that may be, the sound desk, your sound desk, as I said before, there should be at least 2 or 3 people that serves there and that's part of that team. It could have a team leader, right? I want to encourage internal collaborations. How does this work? Collaboration is the 4th pillar in what we teach for effective ministry media platforms. Internal collaborations could be when the media team works on a project with the pastor and the pastor is communicating and creating content. That is a collaboration. Could be collaboration where the pastor brings the counseling team head into a conversation and they do a live stream on certain topics. That's a powerful collaboration. What happens when people collaborate? Great team spirit, your morale is boosted, and it creates unity within your team. So that's one of the ways to get unity going. Let's see where we are. Okay. When you collaborate or encourage internal collaboration, your content quality is increased, okay? Because there's more eyes and more talent involved, it's basically synergy. Synergy is larger than the sum of the parts, as we know. And you're going to have a lot more retention, okay? By internal collaboration, engagement, community, caring for each other. Let me pause here. It's very important that as a pastor or as a team leader, that you make it your primary focus to ensure that your team is taken care of. It's like a pastoral position, okay? You are the leader of a team, and this media team needs care from you. Let me give you an example. Let's say a volunteer scheduled and made themselves available to serve on Sunday. Maybe the photographer, and the photographer doesn't show up. Yes, we didn't have photos for that day, but what's more important is for you, especially as the pastor, and yes, there's different levels. Sometimes you have a senior pastor and different pastors, who worship pastor and a media pastor, etc., etc. And so those will be the ones that do this. But it's important to give the person a call and don't ask them where they were and why didn't they show up. Ask them if they're okay. That amount of care. There's a quote by Theodore Roosevelt, very powerful. It says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so when I have a team member that don't show up to serve, I don't ask them where they were or why didn't they show up or reprimand them. My question is, I missed you today. Are you okay? And that is a good question to ask, because the response is then going to be, my car broke down, or my parent died, or whatever the case may be. And that is the best way to approach that. People want to know that you care about them. Your collaborations will increase the quality of your content, okay? Collaboration will enhance efficiencies. Okay, so the product, the media product and the platform is just going to be much better the more people are involved and the more talent you have, the more eyeballs you have, more accountability there are, etc. And you want to make sure that in your team, as you work together, that everybody develops big picture thinking. This is where the value of sharing your vision is so important. You share your vision, and people know where we're going, and you explain to them, these are the different goals that we want to reach to get there, and these are the milestones on how we're going to reach every goal. And remember what I taught you, celebrate all the milestones. Okay. We've done content audits for about 2 weeks. We did a big lesson on that where it was part of the content inspiration toolkit. And we also did an audit and a review of a platform last week, which was great. But do it with your team. And do it in workshop format. Get everybody into a room, have a big screen against the wall, and go and look at everything. Pull it apart. And you, as the pastor, And everybody else that was a part of the creation process up until that point should welcome critical, constructive, and feedback. Again, the writer of the 1 Minute Manager, Ken Blanchard, he said, feedback is the breakfast of champions. And so do this audit, do this review, get your team into a room and look at everything, scrutinize everything, look at your YouTube platform, look at your Facebook, look at everything that you're doing in terms of communication and media, and pull it apart. Tell people to share their thoughts and open the floor for people to be honest with you. Because if you don't encourage that, you're not going to grow. You're not going to go to the next level. Okay. Assess the existing content assets and talk about the strengths and the weaknesses. What did you do well? Why did certain posts do well? What is a great piece of content? What is there a good video? Is there a video that you think has more potential for views that's not getting the views, and why am I not getting the views? Maybe the keywords are wrong. Maybe you should add a thumbnail. Okay. Also speak about developing an actual strategy for packaging and distributing your content effectively. And the potential of the content. Every one of your videos that is long form should also be a podcast. It should also be a blog post. And there's ways to do that. Be faithful with what God has given you and with what you're busy doing. Okay. I love what we call media days. Okay, and those are exciting days where there's a lot of planning. There's a lot of development that you have to do. If you go to the first masterclass that we did, we spoke about reflection and content creation. And so obviously you do a lot of that and you're ready. Get your team ready. This day has to be planned. But it's an exciting day because everybody is boots on the ground, involved and creating on that day. It's one of the best, and it's like having a field trip. It's the most exciting day of engagement that you can have in your team. So have, for instance, say, okay, team, once a month, we're going into studio, wherever that is. And if you don't have a studio, don't be discouraged. Create a studio. You can create a studio, right? Setting up a studio is not that difficult. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money. I've built studios. I've shown you before my tech setup. How do I do my tech setups? It's not magical and great and whatever, but I get the product out. I love building studio sets with whatever I have. I can walk into a room. I can identify. I know what I want. I know the product that I want at the end of the day. I can walk into a room and I can quickly put everything together and build a set. And it takes me like a half an hour. And we're ready to, and then the team sets up and they shoot. It's not that difficult to do, okay? But have a specific day that you plan towards, right? Everybody knows. They book out that day. They plan for it. You buy food for the day, refreshments. You know who's going to shoot what. You have a timetable. You have an agenda for the day, etc. All of that is great energy that's being created when you're doing this, and do it regularly. I would do it once a month. I wouldn't do it once a week. It's not necessary. If you go through the things that I teach and whatever, you can spend a day in studio once a month and you can have content for the whole month, as much as you want, depending on how much, what your tools are that you're using, etc. Okay, these media days maximizes team productivity and efficiency. Also, let's be cognizant, wherever you are, let's get cognizant of the pastor's time. The pastor has to dedicate his time to preaching, teaching, and praying. Okay, the scriptures tell us that. If you look at why was Stephen appointed as a servant, he waited tables, but God used him for his glory. But why was he appointed? The apostles came together and said, it's not good for us to wait tables, etc., because we need to focus on the word and on prayer. And so be mindful of the pastor's time. I have a method, and what we do is we can spend a day in studio and have content for 3 months. So be mindful of that and be a good steward of the time. We're almost done. This is the last point. Let's talk about mastering your communities. Okay. Need to treat your media team as a community. I spoke before about care given to them. How do you engage them? Treat them with respect. Honor them for their work. Celebrate them. Edify them is what we started with in the beginning. Those are very important things for you to look at. But treat them as a community. Family. Treat them as family. Regard every person, doesn't matter how minute or minor their role is. Treat them as the most important person in your team. When we teach leadership, we teach there's a leadership triangle that's usually people at the bottom in different levels, and then the pastor or the leaders at the top. What we teach is that this triangle is turned upside down. So the pastor is at the bottom, and everybody else is different levels up to the top. And at the end of the day, the member is the most important person. Okay, and so that's how we approach serving and leadership. I shared already about follow-up and care. It's very important that you connect with people. All right, and lastly, there's so much opportunities as this team works together and engages. There's so much opportunities for you to grow, to celebrate. Profile. Here's some content ideas. Profile different people in your team. So for instance, your videographer. Where did they come from? What have they done before? Why are they here? What have they done before? What have people seen that he might have worked on? All those kind of things. Profile everyone on your team. Honor them. Edify them publicly in front of the congregation or in public. I love when we have production days. I love having a team dedicated to behind the scenes content. So besides the camera that I have on the talent or the pastor doing the content, maybe I have two cameras doing a 2-shot. I might have 3 cameras, but I always have a wide shot camera doing the activity in the room, and then I have a camera roaming around going to focus on different things, and those are really powerful. And we use that as content to promote. For, let's say, for instance, you're going to do a launch of your media platform once you've implemented all the strategies that we've taught you, and you're working towards a launch. Let's say you get into our challenge, which is coming up, and you say, okay, for 3 months, 12 weeks, I'm going to engage, I'm going to develop my platform, and we're going to launch. When you launch, one of the great ways to promote that launch is to have behind the scenes content. This is what we did to build up towards our platform. This is what we did. Promos, interviews, etc., etc. Everything builds up to this crescendo, and then you launch the ministry. And that's really powerful. Okay. And that concludes what I've got for today. It's been a long time. It's been about 90 or 100 minutes, but this is a masterclass. My name is Ivan Fune. This is a masterclass, and thank you so much for being with us today. If you're watching, I would love for you to, just as we conclude this masterclass today, would love for you to just post at least one thing in the comments and sharing with me what is your takeaway today. Maybe you have 3, maybe you have 5. I'd love to hear your thoughts. What is your takeaway today? Thank you, Lamise says, it was awesome. You're very, very welcome. Thank you so much for being here today. I bless you, and I hope you implement what we teach you. Anybody else share with us your takeaway for today? How's it going with the pastors there in Zambia? Let us know, what is your takeaway of today. Really appreciate hearing from you. Pastor Aye is still here. Wow, that's amazing. Pastor Aye says, excellent. Thank you, Ivan. It opened up so many ideas for involving our church in media mastery to lift the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you so much for being here. It's Pastor Jonathan, are you still here? Let you hear some feedback from your team there. Thank you so much. Yeah, at the end of the day, that is what it's all about. It's very powerful. If you found value, okay, I give you permission to bless other ministries and share with them these masterclasses. A great thing would be to take the link of the Telegram channel, share that with them, say you're part of it, and share it with them. Otherwise, take this video, take the link and share it in your WhatsApp groups, in your teams, etc. And do that with an endorsement, right? Say, I am part of this masterclass. I am partaking of this. It's blessing me. I'm developing, etc., etc. I encourage you to do it too. Obviously, what we'd like to do is get as many people to be blessed as possible. And yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for everybody that stayed so long. This is probably the longest class that I've done before, but it was important to just do everything together and keep them together. But just some feedback. The platform's doing really well. Our subscriber base is growing. Our channel, the Telegram channel, is growing. The engagement is increasing. The views are increasing. So we know that God's hand is on this. There is a scripture in Nehemiah that I really love. And I just want to quickly research. Ezra 7, verse 28. God's hand is good upon me. I love that scripture, and it's really encouraging just to know that we have God's hand on everything that we do, and it really empowers us. I want to honor you. Thank you so much for being part of the process and the class today. And I want to encourage you can you go out this week and invite 3 people to our Telegram channel. Let them get connected and let them also be blessed, or at least invite them to what we call a watch party. Let them also be part of the live broadcast when that happens. I am so blessed. I'm encouraged. Thank you so much for being part of my journey. And remember, those that are engaging, and do a couple of key things. Share their expectation at the beginning and what they learned at the end, and engage in the middle. We're going to monitor that. We're going to invite you to a very special Ministry Media deep dive at the end of June, where we're going to have the selected and invited ministry in that room, and we're going to deep dive, and we're going to do amazing things, answer questions, share strategies, etc., etc., and it's going to be amazing. Thank you for being here, and thank you for watching the broadcast, the rebroadcast. If you are, I bless you, and I will see you again next week. Watch the channel, because we're going to share the next topic in the channel sometime today, and then you can prepare and book it out. Thank you so much, and have a good day.